Francis Ford Coppola once said, "I don't think there's any artist of any value who doesn't doubt what they're doing." So that means it doesn't matter if you're an amateur just starting out, doing your own thing. Doesn't matter if you're a professional. Doesn't matter if you're a celebrated director with multiple films and a film inspired, or the film that inspires a documentary, which then inspires some guy from San Bernardino to make a jazz album about death. Doesn't matter who or what you are, doubt is still the biggest thing that creeps in. Okay, let's get started. Antonio Johnson is my guest today on today's episode of Creative Rec podcast. It's not a podcast. I'm gonna stop calling it a podcast because it's deeper than that. It's a series. What makes it a podcast? Because I have a microphone. Are you doing Son of Man right now? Son of Man with a microphone. Son of Man is an art piece. I don't know who painted it.
I don't know what to do my hands over the mic.
This is revenge because I didn't take your podcast seriously. And
I'm taking your podcast serious. I did a so I've been researching podcasts, and one of the things that it says is when you are a guest on someone else's podcast, you have to make an impact. Because that's what potentially can get them to come back to you. Now, I'm not here trying to fish your listeners, but
well, you should be fishing my listeners. That's why I brought you on.
But Tone Deaf Podcast.
What? Okay, so
Richard will provide all the links.
Possibly. I don't know how to. I mean, I do know how to do that. I don't know if I feel like doing that. Okay, Antonio Johnson, director, graphic designer, photographer, minister, father, husband. I can keep going.
You could have said husbandman, but that's like a
husbandman.
Like those are like basically like a gardener.
Gardener.
A husbandman. I do like gardening. I'm actually it's very therapeutic for me.
This is really not supposed to be any longer than like 30 minutes, and I'm gonna make sure I edit it. I mean, yeah.
Edit what? The video cuts back and forth for you, right?
Yeah, it's the video, but I have to splice in the my Anthony Bourdain stuff where I'm like walking around Riverside, and I'm like, this is what we talked about, and this is on today's subject. This is a whole thing. It's not like you and Mike's podcast. This is. So again, as I continue to intro Antonio, Mike should be the previous episode, and you guys are the ones who convinced me that I need to probably do something like this. One, not just because for whatever reason I think you guys believe in me, but also because I'm feeling very antsy as a creative, and I don't know, man. Sometimes I just want to be like, I just want to throw all my keyboards out the window just to see what would happen. Not even like on some like I'm angry, just to like say like music, and then throw the keyboards and be like, I created something. So what do you do?
I don't know. I don't know. I make things. I don't know.
Antonio, you are a director. You are currently doing your series. By the time this airs, it might be over, but you've done a series called Black Skin, which features I don't want to say models, but actresses and models.
Maybe about only half.
Okay.
Only half of the people that I've done stuff with are actually either models or actors. The rest of them were just regular. I don't like to say regular people, but
well, just people. But it highlights literally what Black people.
I'm not seeking after act. It's not a series that seeks after actors.
Right. So what Antonio's series, your series does, it showcases just Black people in a way where it's not, you're right, it's not actors and models, because that's kind of not fair. I mean, I did an episode and I'm definitely not a model or an actor. I'm terrible at that. But what's beautiful about it is that you have a poet.
I think you could model though.
I
seriously think you could.
I dress very well. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not even. It is about that, but for guys, it's different, especially now. guys, if you have that, I'm gonna say this, and this isn't a diss, but like you have a a weird vibe.
I
I don't even know how to
I
describe
have
it,
a I have a no. I know what you mean.
but that
I have a
photograph,
I have a Lakeith Stanfield vibe. I understand.
kind of,
I am
but that
offended, but
that photographs well.
I am a steer. I am. Yeah.
Like
It photographs well.
that energy photographs well.
Uh,
And then you're thinner. And you're not like super tall, but you're tall enough to where
thank you.
skinny. You're skinny, tall. You have an ethnic hairstyle, which the whites love. They love it. Now they love it. They didn't always love it, but now they love it.
Uh, which feature?
Like the type where they would come in like, oh, I like your hair and stick see my hands
Yeah, it's just
playing
all in the
playing
camera.
playing with your hair. That's what they
Your
want to do.
your hands are fondling the camera.
Yes.
The series.
I was virtually fondling your hair.
The
That would be
series.
that would be cool if your hair moved while I did it. But yeah, it was just supposed to be a series to I don't know, celebrate black people.
Yeah. Especially at a time when, you started the series in the summer.
When the block was hot.
When the block was hot. At a time when we were in a pandemic already.
First literally the first shoot was a couple days before Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Yours was on Juneteenth.
Mine was on Juneteenth. And again, which is interesting that we bring that up. The very last kind of performance that I did for myself, for my own music, was the day of, I hate to call them the George Floyd riots, but that's essentially what happened. Those nationwide protests and police escalated riots that happened on May 31st. So it's interesting how this is something that you and I kind of always talk about. We are Black creatives. We are, I mean, you can look at us, you and I are both African American males. We're so with that being said, your art doesn't necessarily, which is why I think we work well together. It's not necessarily I am trying to I'm the director I'm the Black director. You're not the Black director. You are not,
I'm not gonna lie, I used to think that way.
Ooh.
And now I've embraced it. Not to the point, it's almost like it's the flip side of the I don't see color, which is a lie. Because I know you see me I know you see me like I'm black. I know you see that. Like, don't act like you don't. And so on the flip, I do know I'm a black. I recognize that I'm a black director, but in saying that, I want to show that black people are not monolith.
Yeah.
So the stories that I tell, even though they may not be the typical black stories that you hear, are actually black stories. So I embrace it, but I embrace it in the way to where it's not the cliche. Like I got to do a slavery movie, a struggle movie, and a civil rights movie.
Or the new one, the Black Informant movie.
Yes,
which I think I'm gonna be a fan of. I'm not gonna lie.
But I don't know. I feel like I might have to do that. I feel like the way to make it in Hollywood as a black director is I got to do at least one struggle black movie.
There's a saying we have in music. I remember really taking it in when The Weeknd kind of made that shift with his first album from what he was doing previously in his mixtapes into his first album. It was you got to do 10 for them, 2 for you. And as an artist, that kind of pretty much means you got to do 10 things to get your name out there, to get the recognition, to get whatever, and then you do 2 to say, okay, but this is how I really am, this is how I really feel. And then eventually, hopefully, you're able to flip. You're able to do 10 for you, 2 for them.
Well, the best ones are able to do the one that's quote for them, but it has their fingerprint on it.
Yeah.
If you're good, if you're good enough, you can. I think the one, it's almost like the Jay-Z model. It's like I'm good enough to where I could do whatever you want me to do, and whatever's hot, and I'm good enough to where whenever it's hot becomes cold, that the next thing I could do that too, instead of I can only do this one thing, and then after that part, but I could do what you want me to do, but I could do it better than what most people are doing, or I could do it in a way that's unique to where I'm giving you what you want, but it's in a way that's uniquely me. That's all. That's just. I think that's the struggle of a quote mainstream artist, which I think I think directors and musicians to an extent are mainstream artists because what we do is for people. So I mean, to an extent,
Yeah.
people are gonna see it. So it's like I can't make a movie that people can't hear or that's too dark that they can't see. Because
we
what's the
you
point?
you know you and I actually we've had a debate about this, and I feel like because we again we work together. I think we work well together. When we work together, we don't work together a lot. Um,
We work together, but when we work together, it's like
it's a balance.
it's a pass off. Like I did this part, and then
Yeah,
you do this part.
definitely.
But we do different things.
We do different things, and we come from different angles. So even where, like you said, we make art for people. We you and I had a debate, recently where it was like, I really don't. I still am kind of in that mode of I think we make art to express ourselves. But
Of
then
course.
I saw something recently, and I really want to do hop into your topic because I think that's an important topic. But I got to get this off my chest. I saw a movie recently that I thought was actually could have been a really really good movie.
Mhm.
Maybe if the characters were different, maybe if the characters even a different race, maybe if some of the dialogue wasn't on the nose or some of the monologues weren't on the nose. um, and the movie really, the problem that I have with the movie is the same thing I like about the movie, is that the director obviously had an agenda and he's using these characters to push forward an
Oh,
agenda of how he
I know a
feels.
movie you're talking about.
And that
But
movie is
again,
called, no, I'll say the movie. It was called
that's fine.
Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah.
um
And that's fine. That's what I'm saying. I think the balance is the person that can cover both, that can do a thing that's fulfilling for themselves, but also a thing that other people can regurgitate.
yeah.
Or you like if because like so really quick, I know you wanted to get your thing, but it's like I think of it as like the origin of a rapper. It's funny when people say like, "Oh, rapping is not about the beat," but it's like it's exactly what it's about. That's like the
It's the D,
origin is
started with the DJ.
the DJ is playing a beat and a guy comes up, "Hey, why don't you talk playing this beat and hype me up and then get the people going?" And then, "Hey, maybe if I say something that's sonically pleasing and matches the beat and rhymes, then maybe." But the point was for the crowd to feel something while you express what you wanted to express.
Right.
Like
And
it came, especially if you're thinking where it came out in New York in a time where you got drugs, you got police brutality, you got all these things that are brewing, and you got these groups of people that feel like they need to express themselves. Here's a way to do it. Like you can get people to like this is what I mean. You can get someone to nod their head while listening to something that you have to say that can be enriching. And that's kind of like the balance. So hey, I made something that you can dance to, but I'm also saying something. And that's kind of the
you're absolutely right. I think I haven't done a lot of quotes now that I think about it, but to quote in my other episodes, but Flannery O'Connor had one of my favorite authors has this kind of notion about that. It is the job of the artist. We don't want to give our audience something to escape to. It's not about escapism, although escapism sells, and she's adamant about that. Escapism is what sells. Escapism is what at the time she's writing, the Christian mom in suburbia would prefer. However, it's her job as an artist to present whatever realities, trauma, joy, sorrow that is universal.
but check this
And
out. So that's what I mean. So check this out. I usually look like a movie like Black Panther, where a part of that is escapism. You've brought in this new world for us to be immersed in, but
mhm,
even in that fictional make believe world, we bring up real life issues and stuff that's so when you leave the theater or when the last track on that album ends, even though you took me on a journey, you took me somewhere, there's still something that I can take with me when I step out of the room and I'm back to real life. And I think
precisely.
I think that's the if you can do that, then you've made it.
No, yeah, like it's something I even tell to my students. The point when we talk about we're talking about life lessons.
Yeah.
If you can't watch a movie, hear a song, read a poem, anything that is fictional, and take away something like this made my life better, then maybe it wasn't good. And not to say that you didn't enjoy it, but maybe it wasn't good. The same thing with McDonald's. I literally have so many Happy Meal things because I went to because the Pokemon Happy Meal stuff was running. So my desk is literally filled with Pokemon cards. But McDonald's does not make my health any better. Did I enjoy it? Yes. But is it making my life better? Am I healthier for it? No, not at all.
Probably not.
Same thing happens with art. Yeah, definitely not. Same thing happens with what happens with art. There's a lot of rappers I enjoy, a lot of talented. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to step on anybody's favorite rapper or a singer or whatever. But there's a lot of people, a lot of arts, a lot of movies that I listen to or watch, and it's like, man, like this literally did not make my life any better, but I enjoyed it. So thank you
And,
for.
and I don't think there's necessarily a problem with that. I think that's why you want a holistic, well-rounded bunch of artists to enjoy, because you want different artists to do you. I don't want every artist to make me feel the exact same way. Otherwise, all of them are useless.
But isn't
So
that what we do?
I'm
Isn't
okay.
that
Like
what
I'm
we do
okay.
right now?
What I'm
I'm
saying
just
is, like people pit the two together, but like I want to be able to listen to Cardi B, and then gosh, I can't remember her name. She did
make.
complexion with Kendrick.
Oh, Rhapsody.
Rhapsody. So like, and I like what Rhapsody says because they always ask her like how she feels about like Nicki Minaj or what, and then because I don't know why we always do this with women rappers. We always try to pit them against each other. But I love what she said about Cardi B. She was like, Cardi B used to be a stripper, so she's speaking about a truth, a lifestyle that she used to live or lives now, but that's her truth. And but that's not Rhapsody. So Rhapsody's not going to talk about stripping because she's not a stripper. So it's like I don't want the two of them to talk about the same thing. I want to be Rhapsody and get what I can get from her, and then switch it over to Cardi and get what I can get from her. And then I don't want the two of them to try to do something else, because I think regardless of what you're doing, you should tell the truth. If you're not telling a truth, if you're not telling a truth, it's the same thing as R&B. You can have an R&B song that's about "Please, Baby, Come Back," or you can have a one talking about spread your legs, do this. They're both truths. They're both talking about things that happen, and they're both for specific. You'll play one when you and your lady are in the mood, and you'll play the other when you do something stupid and she leaves. So
I I feel you completely, and I don't disagree.
yeah.
I don't disagree with you at all. My fear, or just what I'm observing from the zeitgeist, is that we are seeing. You're absolutely right. We're seeing multiple. I don't want to say. I hate using this idea that there's multiple truths, but we are seeing these different lifestyles presented.
Yeah.
But what we see a lot more of, which is this has always been the case, is whatever lifestyle sells more, gets the most
Well,
views,
of
gets
course,
the
that's
most
it.
likes.
And
Um,
there's an element of commercialism. There always has been. It's just a matter of what was commercial at the time, and then what are people trying to say because it's cool to say, and then who's trying to say something that's different.
True, but do you feel
I don't know
like
if you
there's
can ever
a?
escape it.
You're right. I don't think we can escape it either. But I feel like now, I think there used to be a quality, and again, this is coming from a person who grew up in when pop was Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and you had like
I
seven
both
other different ones.
I both agree with you and disagree. But I think the reason why it feels like there was more of a quality is because there was such a funneling of what we got to hear. And
I agree with that.
the problem with that is twofold: is that how many people did we not get to hear about? Just think about black music. We didn't get to hear them because there was a funneling of who was allowed to be played on the radios, who was allowed to perform on certain stages. Same thing happened in film. There was only like a handful of directors who are able to make movies every year. But so when you open up that avenue and allow more people to use it, of course you're probably going to have a good amount that maybe you don't like, but like we don't get Barry Jenkins and Moonlight if we don't open it up for the indie type musician. I mean the type
Director.
director.
Yeah.
There's I think about I don't know. I'm trying to think of what musicians we probably don't get to hear about because they're not really mainstream or they have a different sound, and maybe they wouldn't have made it through the record label system because they don't. They
Oh,
didn't get
plenty.
to navigate. They didn't get to navigate through the politics.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
plenty.
even Jay-Z. I mean, you think about Jay-Z's story. They did not want to sign Jay-Z because they felt like he wouldn't make it, and they were like, "Fine, we'll make our own thing."
yeah,
So imagine what happens if you weren't allowed to make your own thing and you had to go through that system. There's some people that we never get to hear. But what comes with that is not everybody's gonna be great. So
right.
you know that's
I
kinda,
mean, and that's the truth too. Not everybody's gonna be great. So, how does that tie into art, social media, and a pandemic? When you know you can create, you know you should create, but that little voice in the back of your head says, "Why are you doing this? And will you ever be great at this?"